All right, what's up, Mob Crew? Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you guys can hear me okay, please put a 1 in the chat. Get some things set up here. I'm going to be running on StreamYard today because I am going to be moving. So I'm starting to kind of put my studio away, and so I'm just going to do my StreamYard, even though I prefer OBS. So let me get that. Okay, perfect. Good to see everybody. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, I am Chris with Monsters Under Our Bed. I cover murder, mystery to the missing. And today we're going to recap basically week 1 of the Lori Vallow trial because it looks like it might be cut short because there was a death in the family on the prosecution side. So it sounds like let me know in the chat, but I think they're gonna take a break for the rest of this week and either start, I think, on Tuesday. So they did have a little bit today, not too much. They left, I think, like just before lunch or something like that. But we'll basically kind of recapping day 1 and 2 and what they discovered. And I just kind of basically trimmed down all the audio clips from basically the detective that was, I forget his name, but Ray. And I basically condensed it for everybody. And then I've got some visuals as well, plus a timeline for those that may be new to this case. So we'll go through it all. Just make sure everybody's on the same page. Thank you. I see some new members. Sweet Dreams. Thank you. Let's see if we can get this real quick here. Where are you at? There you are. Thank you so much, Sweet Dreams, for becoming a member. Jilly Bean, I see you're still having trouble. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a video for all iPhone users and upload it to like maybe my community page or something like that. If you'd like, you can email me and I can give you some steps as well and help you take care of that. And thank you so much, Marcy. Everybody, I really appreciate the support. For those that are new to the channel, I will be not only covering true crime, but starting in May, literally May 2nd, me and Steve from True Crime Web, we're going to be going out to a cold case in Texas. A 2-year-old girl, sadly, her life was taken. I believe she was buried under a house. And so we're going to go to that house and we're going to have a geophysicist with ground penetrating radar. And we are going to go scan under that house. And so we're going to do that. And we're going to bring you guys along and do some live shows and then come back. And hopefully we'll have some positive results. Plus, right after that, on May 14th, we're going to have Aiden Clune. Or I'm going to be searching for Aiden Clune, and we're going to have his mother on. There is a change. I was going to have her on tomorrow, but since I'm moving Friday and she wanted to have a timeline ready, but she didn't quite, she wanted to get a few more details. We both felt like it'd be better to start it or have her on next week. So I'm not going to have Amy on tomorrow. It'll be next Thursday, and that'll kind of work out for everybody. So, yes, the Amber Crumb case. Yep. Okay, so we'd like to feature the missing before we get started. So we have a request. This is Candace Harris. This is actually here in my hometown, Salt Lake City, Utah. She was 18 years old when she went missing. She went missing on July 15th, 2 years ago on 2021. She has hazel eyes, dyed black hair. If you have any information, you may know this name, contact Jason Jensen. He's a private PI. He works here in Utah and around the surrounding area at 801-759-2248. And then since we're going to be having his mother on real soon, this is Aiden Clune. He went missing last year, sadly. And he went missing out of Wells, Nevada, just about, actually, I think 30 or 40 miles south of Wells. And he hadn't been seen since April 27th of last year. And there is a reward, and I think it's higher than $5,000. I'm not sure exactly. But when we have Amy on, his mother, we'll get all the details because she's actually getting a new poster ready. and we might even present it when we have her on the show. So excited to do that. And she's got some things for some bracelets too, because she's trying to get as much support when we go out there on May 14th. So, okay, so that is that. And all right, so let me remove this, get that. Thank you so much, Lisa, for the super sticker. You are so awesome. And of course, big shout out to my mods, Molly, Karen, Jennifer, and Copper Horse. You guys are so amazing. We have the best mods. All we ask is just be polite in the chat. And if you have any questions or concerns, you can ask any of my mods. I'd be more than happy to help. Okay. And if anybody gifts memberships, if you can let me know in the chat, because StreamYard doesn't let you know for some reason. Do you have a Cash App? I do have a Cash App. Yes, I do, Camilla. It's either you can find it in the description of any of my videos, or I'm sure one of my mods can pop it up. It'll come up. So, all right, let's get going. So, I'm sure most of you guys are probably familiar, if you've been following my channel, with the backstory to the Lori Vallow case. But I will play just a small little clip of just, even though this case has got so many layers to it, I will play just a little backstory just to get everybody caught up. So let me get this, and let me know how the volume is. Hopefully the volume is good. Good to see you, Lady M. Tylee Ryan. Lori would move in September 2019 to Rexburg, Idaho, taking JJ and Tylee with her. The townhomes they moved into were located just 15 minutes from Chad Daybell's home. What people don't really talk about. Okay, so I did put out a video, and you can always, after the show, go and check it out, where I go through basically most of the timeline. I'm going to start with, so we have Charles Vallow, who's sadly taken by Alex Cox. And then just after that, they go, Lori takes the kids and moves to Idaho from Arizona. And so this is where we're going to kind of start in the timeline. And I've got some calendars I'll put up here in just a minute. But she moves and takes the kids with her. And she moves just 15 minutes from where Chad Daybell's residence is at. This is in Salem, Idaho. And she moves into some townhomes called Rock Creek, I believe. Is that Tylee was now 16 years old and was going through a tough time, just losing her closest father figure and being separated again with anyone she ever knew, and also probably putting together the relationship between Chad and her mother Lori, who were becoming more intimate. I would speculate she may have had problems with this relationship, and with the move she could have been acting out. Also, not to mention, she was the only other witness besides Lori who saw what went down between the altercation between Charles, Lori, and Alex, making her a liability. Tylee was labeled as a dark spirit according to Chad's chart. Lori's brother Alex and niece would also move to the same complex as well. Sadly, this is when the sightings of the two kids, JJ and Tylee, would become sparse, and the information about exactly what happens to them is very limited. On September 6th, we see a neighbor taking a picture and uploading to Facebook of JJ playing outside the townhomes in Rexburg. On September 8th, Lori, Alex, JJ, and Tylee would go to Yellowstone National Park. Sadly, this would be the last few photos of Tylee seen alive. This part is where it's unclear as to when exactly Tylee was murdered and who exactly was involved. So some of the things that we've learned since then is after they get back from Yellowstone, now they move into apartments. We've got Lori moving into her own apartment. We've got Melanie, her niece, move into an apartment next to hers, and then also Alex Cox. So they're all kind of in the same building there, just with different apartment numbers, but they're all right in the same building. And what we know is apparently on the night of the 8th, um, Alex Cox's phone is tracked from his going from like his apartment to Lori's apartment. And just looking back at the records previous before the or since they had moved in before the 8th, they noticed that he would obviously go over there, but he wouldn't be going over there like late at night, like 2 o'clock in the morning and whatnot. And they noticed that he did go over there real late or real early in the morning, and they believe that's when he most likely did something with Tylee. We don't know if it was done there, but unfortunately, her life would be taken, and then he would take it to Chad Daybell's residence. But either that night of the 8th or early morning of the 9th of September, sadly, Tylee's life would be taken. That next day, early in the morning on the 9th, Alex Cox's cell phone would be tracked to Daybell's home, where Tylee's body would apparently be cut up, burned, and buried in the pet cemetery. So it's assumed that Alex was the one who killed Tylee, but there may have been other parties involved, including Lori and Chad. And so I made this video, I think, over a month, maybe 2 months ago. And I didn't know, of course, now there's more information. We learned that there's DNA that was on a pickaxe and a shovel that was found in a shed nearby on Daybell's residence. And then when Alex Cox's phone was pinging, and just after it left, Chad Daybell, his phone was pinging in that same area where she was buried. So in my opinion, I think he was also involved in the disposal of Tylee's remains. Chad would send this eerie message to his wife at approximately 11:53 a.m. This would mean he was home and at the very least participated in the disposal of Tylee Ryan's remains. Considering he admits to owning a gun in this text, could mean he may have been involved. Lori's son Colby, who was starting his own family with a newborn baby girl, would attempt to reach out to his sister Tylee on her birthday on September 24th by texting her and calling her. He would only receive text messages from her number, but noticed something was very off about the text messages that were being sent back. They didn't have any punctuation and didn't seem like they were coming from Tylee. He would continue to text Tylee's phone and would receive short answers back with some excuse as to why she couldn't call him back. And so this whole time, if you guys have seen the Netflix documentary Sins of Our Mother, which is really good, this is obviously his mother using Tylee's phone, because she had been clearly dead for quite a while, for a couple weeks anyway. And just so sad, he's trying to get a hold of her, and he's just getting these short replies back, which are on the gray side. Call you back later, love you, and he's like, okay, call me tonight, please. And then she's like, I'm at the movie, I'll call you later. And there's always some excuse, but really that was just his own mother actually using her phone, trying to pretend that it's her. Betty says, I wonder if she has poisoned drugged Tylee's food from the restaurant outside Yellowstone. Yeah, that's right. They went to a barbecue place, Pigley's. I forget the name of it, but yes. With how crazy they are, I wouldn't put it past them. And so, like I said, if you're just joining, we're going to go over just Tylee and JJ for a minute, and then we're going to get into the court thing. And then, like I said, I condensed not all the audio, because we'd be here for quite a while. I condensed some of the most important stuff from what they discovered, and then I also got some video to put with it. Sadly, Tylee had been dead for weeks now, and it was really his mother, Lori, sending the text messages pretending to be Tylee. After Colby called his mother out about everything going on, she eventually turned off Tylee's phone and told everyone that asked about Tylee that she was off to college. In reality, she was rotting in Chad Daybell's pet cemetery. Chapter 6. Joshua
Jaxon. So during part of September 2019, JJ was going to Kennedy Elementary School. On September 6th, he was captured playing outside his home with Tylee. Then we have the final pictures of Tylee and JJ together at the Yellowstone National Park on the 8th. What is not really mentioned about JJ in his final weeks is that he was not receiving his regular dose of medication that treats irritability caused by autism. Many believe Lori did this on purpose to show her inner circle on how he was behaving more like a demon and considered a zombie. JJ and
So yeah, he was on Risperidone. I hope I always kind of mix that up, which is a medication for autism that helps with agitation. Apparently, when they did the search warrant, which we're going to get up to here in just a minute, he was clearly not getting his regular dose, which is, I wonder if she did that on purpose, just so he would be more irritable, and that would give her more of an excuse to show that, hey, look, he's becoming a zombie. It's not JJ anymore, because that's their supposed thought process on this. Debbie says, "What happened to Alex?" Yeah, we'll talk about Alex. He did die of a pulmonary embolism, I believe is that how it's pronounced, where it's like a blood clot in your lung. And they do, I guess, on the not Vallow side, on Lori's family side, they I guess it runs in their family. So, but some people suspect that it could have been some nefarious activity with Alex as well. So,
Tylee would eventually be labeled as dark spirits. This, of course, is upsetting, and without JJ's medication, he would have episodes. He was also caught on camera acting out with another kid and swearing. After Tylee's disappearance, JJ was often seen playing outside unsupervised. This camera footage would be the last video evidence of JJ seen alive. He was seen for the last time at school and later that night on September 23rd. This is the last picture taken of JJ in red pajamas on the 22nd at 10:46 a.m. This will be significant in a little bit. During this week of September, Melanie Gibb and her boyfriend David Warwick had been visiting and been spending the night in the townhomes, which consisted of multiple apartments occupied by the different members like Alex, Lori, and her niece. Gibb and Warwick were the last people to see JJ alive during the night of the 23rd. They were all going to sit down and do a podcast when apparently JJ started acting up. So his uncle Alex came over and took JJ to his apartment. Alex would later bring JJ back over, covered up in his arms, wearing the same red pajamas seen earlier in this photo, and Warwick saw JJ and said that he looked peaceful. After carrying JJ away into the bedroom, he would never be seen again. The next morning, Alex Cox's phone would ping sometime in the...
So I do have this date wrong. I have the updated calendar. So it actually was on the 22nd he was last seen, and he was buried on the 23rd. I have it on the 24th because there was a couple of things. Like if you look on Wiki, it says he was last seen on the 23rd at school, but that doesn't make sense because he was clearly buried on the 23rd. So that kind of confused me, and I wasn't sure, because there's like conflicting reports. If you really do some research on it, it says he's last seen on the 23rd, but really I think it's the 22nd. He was buried on that Monday, because obviously Alex Cox's phone was pinging on the 23rd there at Daybell's residence, and the only few times that Chad's phone would ping is the few times that either the kids were either most likely buried, and when he went to attempt to assassinate Tammy. Oh, and yes, shout out to Henry. Thank you so much for the Cash App. You are so awesome. And somebody donated earlier, which I will get to here in a second.
Early hours of September 24th at Chad Daybell's property, as he would bury the child in the backyard, not too far from where Tylee's body was buried. What isn't known is that if he had help or not by someone like Chad and Lori. Chad Daybell also used to work in a cemetery as a gravedigger back in 2004, so it wouldn't surprise me if Chad Daybell helped with burying one or both of the kids along with Alex. Alex's cell phone pinged twice at the Daybell residence in September, and those 2 times were on the 9th and the 24th of September, when Melanie Gibb and David Warwick were asked away. During that time in September of 2019.
Oh, okay. So, all right, let's get to
their opening statements.
the
The prosecution also said Vallow used self-proclaimed religion and teaching.
Okay, let me go back just a little bit. So I just wanted to kind of recap the kids, and then of course Tammy, she passed away. Well, she obviously it was homicide, but is on October, and I've got the calendars that'll pull up here in just a second.
Said you'll hear it described as bone and tissue. That's what's left of Tylee. The state also said Tammy died at the hands of another, asphyxiation. In their opening statements, the prosecution also said Vallow used self-proclaimed religion and teachings to justify her actions, from an affair to murder. The defense then gave their opening statement when there is a lack of evidence, the law calls it not guilty. He also reminded the jury that they vowed to remain impartial and not judge, and that they have to be convinced beyond a reasonable doubt. As for the setup for the overflow room, we could see 4 panels on a projector screen. 1 camera was pointed on the judge and the testifying witnesses. The other focused on Vallow and her attorneys, while the 3rd camera was on the prosecution with those who are in attendance behind them, and the 4th camera was on a projector screen which showed photos of the evidence they were referring to. Tylee's aunt, Annie Cushing, along with JJ's grandparents, Kay and Larry Woodcock, were inside the courtroom. Larry spoke with the media this afternoon.
And so, yes, the family is heartless. Yes, they, yeah, they're terrible people, Alex and Lori. And I just want to shout out to Diane. Thank you so much. The other day sent in a PayPal. Thank you so much. So I'm going to skip Larry here and get to, all right here.
And coming up at 4:30, we'll hear more from Larry about making eye contact with Vallow and what he said when he asked if he would be here for the duration of the trial. But after opening statements wrapped up, the prosecution called on their first witness, and we'll send it over to Morgan Romero with a look at that.
Yeah, Camilla, you bring up a great question or a great comment. Remember, Lori is so mad that Charles left his life insurance money to his sister. So was Charles really a dark spirit? Yeah, if you start really looking at it at a different angle, really all these dark spirits is like an attempt. Is it really just life insurance or, Social Security? Because obviously she got Social Security from the kids. And then, yeah, when it comes to obviously Charles, life insurance, Tammy Daybell, life insurance. And then you have Melanie, the niece, who Alex Cox attempts to, shoot him, the ex-husband. And I think there's life insurance in that as well. So, yeah, absolutely crazy.
Yeah, sure. A powerful interview Larry Woodcock did with the media after the prosecution and the defense gave their opening statements, as is standard in trials. We heard from witnesses and we saw evidence for the first time in this case. The prosecution first called Kay Woodcock, the wife of the man you just heard from. She is JJ Vallow's grandmother, and her son actually and his girlfriend had JJ, but they couldn't take care of him, so the Woodcocks then got custody of JJ. When the state was questioning her, Kay explained that her brother Charles Vallow and his wife Lori, the defendant in this case, asked the Woodcocks if they could adopt JJ. The Woodcocks agreed because the Vallows were very family-oriented, active in their church, and, quote, Lori seemed to be the kind of mom every mom wants to be. Kay said after the adoption went through in 2013, she and her husband were always able to see JJ, but things changed after Charles died in July 2019. Before his death, Kay said Charles took Lori off his life insurance policy as they were separated and made his sister.
I really wish they had cameras in this courtroom. I'm sure you guys would agree. I would love to see her reaction to some of this stuff and see if, any of it's genuine. And especially if she takes the stand. I don't think she will. Let me know if you guys think she will, but it'd be interesting if she did take the stand. And it's me, Michelle. Thank you so much for the gifted memberships. That is so awesome. That's almost perfect timing because we're just around the corner from when we're going to go on our trip. Also, since I'm moving, I'm going to do some stuff for the members, showing my new apartment because I'm finally getting my own place. It's been 7 years, so I'm so excited.
Mr. K, the beneficiary. After he died, she testified that Lori texted her about the policy from a number K didn't know. K said she got the money after Charles died, partly to help raise JJ because, quote, Lori didn't want him anymore. She said that multiple times throughout her testimony today. When being questioned by the defense, Kay said she knew Lori didn't want JJ because she never once tried to contact him while she and Charles were split up in early 2019. Kay said she became worried about JJ because they were having a hard time getting in touch with him and Lori. She also told police that she was worried about him after Charles died. In August of 19, about a month before JJ died, Kay says she FaceTimed him, but only for less than a minute, and it looked like someone was monitoring the call. Then in October, Kay said they hired a private investigator because they hadn't heard from JJ since early August and they didn't know where he was. Former Ada County Chief Deputy Prosecutor Gene Fisher, who has no connection to this case, says witness testimony is considered evidence and jurors can choose whether or not to believe what they.
Okay, I'm going to skip that. I didn't realize those sirens are in there. When they moved after Charles Vallow's homicide, when they moved to the Salem apartments, the townhomes, it was revealed that when Alex Cox went to set up the Wi-Fi, he set the password to too many kids. And then he sent a text message to Lori saying exactly that. And she replied, funny. So it just kind of shows you how sick they are. Okay, let me skip it forward a little bit. We're almost going to get to the testimony. So the main part of this show is we're going to learn about what they discovered during the search warrant at the property. And then the second part will be Chad and his demeanor when they were going to search his property, which I found interesting. And like I said, I've got it all clipped together, so there's not too many pauses or gaps.
A witness or from the way in which something was tested.
The state also presented evidence during Kay's testimony, including JJ's birth certificates, his adoption certificate from when the Vallows adopted him, and a picture Kay took of JJ. Kay got really choked up at that point, describing him as her beautiful grandson. The state also called another witness as well, Brandon Boudreau. He is the ex-husband of Melanie Boudreau, Lori Vallow's niece. He said Melanie and Lori were really close, especially when it came to their more extreme religious views. We have that graphic to help you understand all the family dynamics here, a very complicated web of relationships in this family, the Vallow family, the Daybell family, the Cox.
Okay, I'm going to skip this forward a little bit more. And, okay, all right. So here's the calendar here. And we'll quickly go through it for just case for you guys because there's so many elements to this case. But so we have September 2019, which is obviously a big deal because this is when obviously the kids go missing and sadly their lives were taken, most likely by their uncle, and I think even Chad at the very least had a hand in the disposal, at the very least with Tylee, maybe even with JJ. And then we've got October 2nd, we have the assassination attempt with Brandon Boudreau, which is the ex-husband to Melanie, which is the niece to Lori. And then literally a week later, so you got one failed attempt, and then a week later on October 9th, we have Tammy Daybell, who gets home from shopping or something like that, grocery shopping, and a masked assailant shows up. And this is going to be really relevant now that we learned what they discovered in the home. But she says that there was some guy with a ski mask, I think, and then a paintball gun. Now, I always kind of thought, I think this guy had a silencer and maybe somehow the gun jammed or something. Or maybe he was just a terrible shot and missed her. But and then he would run off. But now we learned that Alex's phone did actually ping on that day near the residence. So obviously, I mean, most of us assumed it was Alex, but now it's confirmed in the evidence that his phone was paying in that area. And then now learning what they found in the home, which we'll learn here in a bit, does it all fits together. But then sadly, with the failed attempt on Tammy, the next week on October 19th, actually the day before, because I think they have 4 kids, Tammy and Chad. One of the sons was basically the last one to see Tammy on that Friday, the 18th. He went to work, and then it was just Chad and Tammy. And then sometime that night, she supposedly passed away due to natural causes. But then we'll learn that it was asphyxiation. And then not only just 3 weeks later after Tammy's death is when they get married in Hawaii on November the 5th. And then I know it's kind of hard to see, but towards the bottom, and I zoom it up, November 26th is when, because obviously Kay Woodcock hadn't heard from JJ for a couple months, and she got worried because she hadn't heard from him since August. And this is when they would finally get a search warrant on the 27th, the next day.
Went to 565 Pioneer, 175, which was Lori Vallow's residence. As we pulled up behind the residence, there's a garage area on the west side. Outside the garage area, we had located Alex Cox and Chad Daybell, who were unloading a pickup truck.
Okay.
So I think this is the 26th, November 26th, one day before they're going to get the search warrant. And so obviously they're doing a welfare check for JJ and Tylee. And they get there, and there's Alex and Chad. And of course, they're going to play dumb.
Did you speak with Alex Cox or Chad Daybell that day?
We did.
How did that conversation go?
I walked up to Alex, and I asked Alex if Lori was home. He told me she wasn't home.
Yeah.
I then asked Alex if he knew where JJ was at. We were there to do a welfare check on JJ. At that point, Alex got a blank look on his face, kind of a frightened look, looked over at Chad Daybell, who was on the other side of the pickup truck. Chad then looked at Alex, and they both kind of just looked at each other and didn't answer my question initially.
Okay. What did you think about that conduct?
It raised some red flags just based on the way they acted with that question. I then again asked Alex if he knew where JJ was at, and he stated that JJ was with Kay in Louisiana.
What did you think of that response?
I told Alex that wasn't likely because Kay was the one who called in for the welfare check. And then again, they both kind of just looked at each other, which again raised our suspicions.
Busted. Yeah, so because originally they said, because there was a phone call to Lori, and, the kids were, well, obviously, I think Lori had been telling that Tylee was going to college and that JJ was down in Arizona with her friend Melanie Gibb. But that wasn't true.
Did you speak with Chad Daybell at that time?
I personally didn't speak to Chad at that time, no.
Okay. What did you do next?
I asked Alex if there was a way I can get a hold of Lori. He stated she wasn't home. I asked Alex where I could find Lori, and he stated that she was in apartment 107 in the same complex, just a different apartment. That time I asked Alex if he had Lori's phone number, and he stated he didn't have it. And at that time, when I was walking back to my car, I saw Chad Daybell driving towards me in his black Chevy Equinox. So he had just left 175 and was headed our direction. And at that time, I stopped him in the alleyway.
And did you speak with him?
I did.
What did you ask him?
I asked Chad when was the last time he saw JJ. And Chad told me it was in October.
So he says October, but that can't be true because obviously he had been sadly buried in his backyard since September 23rd. He hadn't been seen since September 22nd. So clearly that's a lie. And then he's going to lie again back to back to this officer or detective.
Apartment 107 with Lori Vallow.
Okay. Did you ask him anything else?
I did. I asked him how he knew Lori Vallow,
Hey.
and he stated that he hardly knew her, that he had only met her a couple of times.
Okay. What did you think about that response? Was there anything suspicious to you about that response?
There was.
What was that?
We knew that Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell had been married 2 weeks prior to my contact with him.
Literally 2 weeks. So as you can see, I know it's a little hard right now where it's at, but in the green, November 5th, they got married literally 2 weeks later on the 26th, which is the day they're talking about, is this day. And so obviously they had been married for exactly 2 weeks. Joseph Ryan was the father of Tylee Ryan. But apparently he was abusive, and I don't want to get too much into Joseph because there was apparently some shady things and some serious accusations. And so I guess really they could really considered, as far as like JJ and Tylee, should really kind of considered Charles Vallow as their father. But it was kind of, I guess it started kind of getting rocky. Wouldn't be surprised if Lori kind of caused that.
Okay. But he said he hardly knew her.
That's correct.
Okay. What was the next step in your investigation?
The next step was the next morning, November 27th, 2019. We met at the prosecutor's office and obtained a search warrant for apartment 175, 174, and 107.
And what was the address of those locations again?
565 Pioneer, Rock Creek Townhomes.
Okay. Were you able to obtain those search warrants?
Yes, we were.
And did you search those apartments?
We did.
Okay, can you walk us through that? Which apartment did you search first?
We started with 175 first, which was Lori Vallow's apartment. When we initially went into apartment 175, they had to break down the front door, which was included in the search warrant. We went into apartment 175. There were couches, dishes in the sink, food in the pantry, food in the refrigerator. Upstairs there were beds, toiletries, everything that looked like someone had lived there, except for there were no clothes on the hangers. There were just empty hangers in all the closets. And so that caught our attention as well.
So there's 3 apartments that they got the search warrant for. We got, get my notes back out. Where did I get the apartment numbers at? So we have 3 apartments. We got 170, 175, 17. So 175 is Lori's, which is going to be the most relevant. Then we have her niece, Melanie, 174. So I'm assuming they're right next to each other. I mean, they're all supposed to be in the same building. And then Alex Cox, 107. But most of the incriminating stuff is actually found in her apartment, because I kind of jump around when he's asking the questions. Not a bunch, but mainly it's what's found in the garage and a few other things. But it's what's in the garage is really disturbing.
Were any people in there when you entered?
There was nobody in apartment 175, 174, and 107 was completely vacant.
Okay. So you didn't locate JJ in apartment 175?
No.
Okay. Did you find any evidence that JJ had been there?
Yes, there were some toys on the front step. Appeared to be little boy scooters, toys. There was a little boy suitcase under the stairwell in apartment 175. There was also an older prescription prescribed to J.J. Vallow of.
So this is the risperidone that's for the autism that they found, and they noticed that clearly there was a lot more pills than there should have been if he was supposedly taking his regular dose, which is disturbing to find out. Is the chat going a little fast? I can slow it down a little bit here. Give me just a second here. Let me know, mods. Let me fix this real quick here. Okay, I'll put it to that. That should be good. Just a little bit there. Okay. All right, let's keep going.
Risperidone.
Yeah, risperidone. I always have a hard time pronouncing that. And just real quick, if you're just joining in, we are listening to this would be day 2. Yeah, day 2. So yesterday's testimony of the detective who's doing the search warrant on the 27th of November. And he's going to start to come across some very disturbing things, in my opinion.
That we located. But aside from that, there was nothing else.
Okay.
There were several guns in the garage of 175. Several different Army-type knives.
Objection, relevance, Your Honor. Overruled.
Several different empty magazines for various weapons. So there were things of that nature in the garage that caught our eye. Again, this is the garage of 175. There were some tubs, you can see in the background, the black tub and the plastic tub that contain these items. They were taken out of the tubs and laid out. What this photograph of is a picture of a ghillie suit. Several.
I'm going to stop you. Can you describe what a ghillie suit is?
A ghillie suit is something that you wear if you want to camouflage yourself. If you're laying out in a field, you put that over the top of you to blend in with the brush or whatever the environment is.
I mean, wow, a ghillie suit, that's a little extreme in my opinion, especially in the combination of everything else that we're going to learn that they find in this garage is pretty scary. Could only imagine if they weren't caught when they were, how much more destruction. I mean, just in a span of 3 to 4 months, a lot of people, I have to be careful with my vernacular, a lot of homicides, a lot of suspicious deaths. And just in that few months, I mean, can you imagine if Alex didn't pass away when he did, just the destruction these people could have done. It's just scary.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Wood, could we get
Several different magazines used to hold ammunition, different caliber of guns. There's also 2 suppressors or silencers that you use to put on the end of a gun to keep it quiet when it's fired. So that's what is laid out on the ground there.
Okay, thank you.
So just as a little bit, we're going to learn even more. So we got ghillie suit, magazines. I missed the audio, but I think it was before the ghillie suit, but a Tyvek suit, which, if you're painting but Tyvek suit, clearly that is disturbing to think about, what was the plans with the tieback suit, to keep DNA, spreading your DNA if you're going to go on, some assassination attempt. And then we got silencers, all sorts of different guns. They don't really, they talk about some rifles. I don't know exactly how many guns they found. I'm sure I'm sure we'll learn exactly all the guns that they discovered, but they were definitely stocked. And that's just in this one garage. It makes me wonder what they maybe tried to dispose of or take,
Can you describe what was found in State's Exhibit?
What is that crazy outfit? Yeah, that's a ghillie suit. That is basically, usually it's for snipers when they go, for Marines and Army. It's not really, I don't see, I mean, I could see it for hunting, obviously. But yeah, it's basically hunting and, and for sniping and the blend in. But yeah, kind of crazy that they got a ghillie suit.
8B.
There were a couple black trash bags you can see in the photograph. They were full of clothing, some miscellaneous papers inside the bags. So we emptied the bags out and laid out the clothing on the garage floor and took a photograph of it.
And sorry.
Lori would move.
Oh gosh, dang it! It's one thing I hate about StreamYard is the play buttons right by the line that you can skip around to. The play button's so close. So when I go to pause, sometimes I start it back at the beginning. I am so sorry. We'll get back right to where we were at. My apologies. I just wanted to pause it and say all these items I'm showing on screen are not the actual evidence photos. These are not the actual items. I just want to say these are just for show. Thank you so much, Debbie, for becoming a member. You are so awesome. Chevy says it looks like my garage. Yeah, I'm not a big gun person. I was always accident prone as a kid, so I never really got into them. I've shot them a few times, but all right, let's continue.
This was also in a tub, several rounds of ammunition, different caliber of weapons.
Okay, yes.
Just a lot of ammunition in that specific tub. 8D was a rifle that we had found on the garage floor, or in the garage. The thing that caught our eye with the rifle was the end of the rifle is threaded for a silencer or a suppressor.
Sorry about that.
So that was also photographed.
So I think this is huge too, and because I always kind of speculated and thought when it came to Tammy and her incident with the ski mask and the guys, she thought he had a paintball gun, and I always thought, gosh, when you hear a silencer shot through like a rifle, and I'm sure they all sound different, I could see how that would kind of make her think it sounded like a paintball gun. So I really think she was shot at by, with the rifle with the silencer, because they found obviously silencers and rifles that have grooves in them, so you can attach silencers to them. And so to me, that completely makes sense that she was. I would say she's really lucky, but sadly that only lasted a week, and then Chad finalized that, sadly.
And this may seem like a silly question, but when you say the end of the rifle, what portion of the rifle are you talking about?
The barrel.
What were you observing in State's Exhibit 8E?
So the black rifle was the same one from the previous photograph, just laid down at the police department on a table. There was also another rifle inside of that bag, and that's the rifle you see above the black rifle.
Okay. In State's Exhibit 8F.
That was the other rifle inside of that bag.
Can you describe what you see in State's Exhibit 8G, or what you observed?
Those were the 2 silencers or suppressors that we had located inside the garage.
Okay. What did you observe in State's Exhibit 8H?
Those were knives that were also located in the vicinity of the rifles as well.
Okay.
That was also a handgun located inside the garage.
I mean, these guys were loaded for bear. And yeah, let me just reiterate, these photos I'm showing are not the actual evidence photos. This is just kind of a recreation, just kind of give you an idea of all the arsenal that these people had. And this is in the end. What's coming up, I think, in my opinion, what's coming up is some of the most disturbing thing, in my opinion. And just quickly, thank you so much, Camilla. Yes, I got your Cash App. You are so sweet. Thank you so much. And I just want to say thank you to Elizabeth for becoming a member and catching a live show. You are so sweet. Thank you so much, guys. You guys are amazing. All right, let's continue.
In a tub just off to the right of where it's sitting. That was a Halloween mask, it looks like. That was kind of on top of a plastic Walmart bag that's in the next photo.
In State's Exhibit 8K.
So the Halloween mask was on top of this bag, and it had rope and duct tape inside that bag.
Now, I know duct tape's pretty common and rope is pretty common to have even in a garage, but found in, if what I'm understanding, found in the same tub as a Halloween mask, duct tape, and a rope, all found in the same tub or in the same area of each other, that is very disturbing. Very disturbing, in my opinion. And yeah, that's just not good.
What did you observe in State's Exhibit 8L?
That is Alex Cox's passport that was located inside the garage.
This is Idaho. This is
Was that passport still active, to your knowledge?
It was.
Okay. 8N, what did you observe?
Yeah.
Those are some more of the documents from Chad Daybell.
Is it fair to say that these documents were laid out and then pictures taken, subsequent pictures taken in a row?
Correct. They weren't found that way. Yeah.
What did you find on State's Exhibit 8P?
Those books were with the documents in the garage that appeared to be written by Chad Daybell.
And finally, State's Exhibit 8Q.
That was a cell phone that was also located in the garage
Thank you.
and directed us to.
Really curious to know what cell phone that is. I wonder if that's like Tylee. Let's see. She's in the phone after November. Really curious to know what cell phone. I mean, I'm sure they probably had tons of burner phones because clearly they're back on the. Oops, sorry. They're back on the run again. Yes. Princess Skywalker, thank you so much for the gifted memberships. You are so sweet. You guys are so awesome. If you can, please hit that like button. We're almost through this. We're almost right on time. The second part, I think we're just about done with the search warrant here. And like I said, I just kind of condensed everything down so there's not much of a gap between the lawyer talking and the detective. The next part is going to be Chad Daybell when they go to hit the property the year later, when they go to discover the kids. Now, we're not going to play the part where the disturbing stuff, but I want to play the part before that where he talks about Chad's demeanor because according to Chad, he didn't know these bodies were out there, but when they were observing his behavior and what he was, doing when they approached the property and they started searching the property. And I think that's huge to show that he knew that the bodies were there, and in my opinion, took part in it.
Chad's room, which is it's like a loft room that was above the garage area. So he walked us through the house and
Hey, Josh.
to the stairwell of Chad's room.
Okay. And what did you observe then?
We walked up the stairwell, announced ourselves. Chad was still asleep in bed as we came around the little half wall. Chad sat up. We told Chad why we were there, that we had a search warrant, search the property and the residence. He asked if he can get dressed and get some clothes on. We allowed him to do that. And then he walked back downstairs with us into the kitchen area.
Okay. What happened then?
Chad asked to contact his attorney, and at that time it was Mark Means. Chad was allowed to contact his attorney. He spoke on the phone with his attorney in the kitchen area. His attorney asked to speak with one of our detectives, but was referred to speak with the prosecutor at that time.
Yeah, one other tick. We haven't heard anything from Chad's children. They did some interviews way before the trials, and I really feel bad for the kids. I mean, clearly the kids have no idea. They had no idea what was going on, and it's tough because they want to believe his father is innocent. Just like, I mean, it's no surprise to me when you see these kind of things, and the loved ones that are attached to these kind of people, they get betrayed the most, and I just feel bad because there's some interviews, but no, I don't think they would be in the court because this is Lori's case, because they separated Lori and Chad's. They were going to try to have them together to save taxpayer money and time, but that didn't work out. So right now it's Lori's trial, and then Chad will go this summer or something like that. And so, yeah, I don't think we'd expect to see the kids, at least not in Lori's trial. So we're kind of listening to like what his demeanor is, and he calls his lawyer when they get there, and then what he does next, I think, is really suspicious.
Okay. What happened after that?
After that, we went into the front room where Chad was given a copy of the search warrant. He sat in the recliner closest to the door. He reviewed the search warrant. Yep. His children at that time were sitting on the couch across from him. He asked if he needed to leave or his children needed to leave, and we explained to them they didn't need to leave. They were free to stay, but if they stayed, they would be accompanied by an officer for safety reasons. At that point, his children stated they were going to go, and Chad stated he didn't know whether he was going to go or not, but asked to go make a phone call out in his vehicle that was parked in the driveway.
Okay. What did you do then?
At that time, the children were allowed to leave. We walked outside in the front yard area. Chad got into the driver's seat of a vehicle that was backed into the driveway. He was on the phone talking. In the meantime, there were the FBI ERT team, the evidence recovery team, arrived on scene along with other detectives now that the scene was safe to arrive. And they began marking off different areas in the backyard, just setting up for the search warrant and what we needed to do that day.
Okay. Who aided, who was a part of serving that search warrant that day in terms of law?
Yes, Josh, and thank you so much for the 4-month membership milestone. That's awesome, buddy. Yes, this is the detective. He's one of many who showed up there to serve the search warrant on June the 9th. I think it's the 9th. Let me pull that up. Yeah, June the 9th, and Ray, I forget his last name. I know it, but I don't want to butcher it. But yeah, he's the one speaking here, and seems like a really great guy. But he, like I said, when they find the bodies and he starts talking about how they have to kind of rotate because the smell is so bad. And like I said, I'm not going to play any of that because it's really disturbing. But we're going to play this last little bit. This is Chad's demeanor, and apparently he starts looking over in a certain direction, and they caught wind of that because they hadn't still found the bodies yet, but they were about to. And I think Chad, when he nervously is looking over in his car, it clearly indicates he knew something.
Enforcement.
The FBI evidence recovery team, Fremont County Sheriff's Office, Rexburg Police Department, the Idaho Attorney General's Office. I believe that was it.
175.
And did you assist in the actual search that day?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yeah, from what he says, now this is what he says on the stand because I wrote it down. 175 is Lori. 174 it was Melanie and Alex. Oh, you can't see my notebook. Oh gosh, it disappears. 107 was Alex. Apparently, Alex was completely cleared out, from what I understand, when they went there.
You spoke about Mr. Daybell, or Chad Daybell, sitting in a vehicle in his driveway, correct?
Correct.
Did you observe him, were you able to observe his behavior during that time?
I was. Mr. Daybell was sitting in the driver's side facing west. He was on the phone, and while he was on the phone, he had the phone in his right hand. He was intently looking over his right shoulder. He would talk for a second, look back over his right shoulder, watching what was going on behind him to his right. So we positioned ourselves to see exactly what Mr. Daybell was concerned or looking at. And when we positioned ourselves that way, we could see Mr. Daybell.
Your Honor, I'm going to object. This is information that's calling for speculation, and he's speculating.
So I think because he gets interrupted, and I'm sure if they could go back, because he I don't know, the arguments kind of sound, but he was basically going to say it sounds like he's looking in the direction of where the kids were buried or Tylee was buried. Blue Eyes, Alex said 107 was her apartment. I think he said that on purpose because he knew it was his apartment, and he knew if they go knock on it, no one's going to be there. But yeah, I've got it written down because they mentioned 175 multiple times, and that's Lori's, unless it's misquoted. But and let me know in chat. I'm sure some of you guys know, but I've got it written down multiple times that I know 175's Lori. At least that's what he says at the beginning, unless he switches it. But I don't know if I have the audio. I might have to go back and look at that. I don't want to get it wrong, but if somebody knows the chat for sure. But I'm pretty sure 107 was Alex. But thank you so much, Blue Eyes. You are so awesome.
Thinking about what Mr. Daybell was seeing at the time.
Your Honor, I can ask some more questions.
All right, the objection is sustained, but nothing to strike on the response yet. If you'll ask another question, Mr. Woods.
At any time, did you go stand by where Mr. Daybell was sitting?
We did.
Okay. Did you speak with him at all?
We did.
What did you say to him?
I asked Mr. Daybell if he needed a coat. Because at that time he was getting out of the vehicle.
Okay. You testified that he had been looking over his shoulder
Correct.
Yeah.
and that you perceived he was looking in a specific direction.
Correct.
When you went and stood by where Mr. Daybell was, did you look in the direction that it appeared he had been looking in?
I did.
What did you observe when you looked in that direction?
I observed the tree and the pond area on that side of the property.
Okay. After that, what did you do to aid in the search of Chad Daybell's property?
We were given certain tasks by the head of the FBI ERT.
Okay, so I'm going to pause it there. So then, eventually you're going to find the bodies, and then he starts to talk about, how rigorous the process was, because obviously they didn't want to destroy any kind of evidence, and but then of course the bodies were still, Tylee's body was still kind of rotting, and just the smell was so bad, and they had to like take turns because they were getting sick, and just it's very terrible, and I don't want to play that. But yeah, I did discover it. Yeah, so here it's apartment 175 is Lori's apartment. 174 was Melanie Boudreau, and then it doesn't say here. It's cut off, but 107 is Alex. That would make sense though. Why Alex would say, "Oh, she's living at 107," because it's his apartment, so it makes sense for him to say that. Obviously, nobody answered. So. Okay, so sorry, I just got to take a sip there and dry mouth. So yeah, we just kind of recapped the last day 2 or day 1 and day 2. Mainly that this is from day 2. Now today was really short. There wasn't a lot that went down. Let's see, is this the right one? There it is. Wait. There it is. Okay. I'm like, why can't I find it here? Okay, give me just a second. We'll just kind of look at, get caught up in chat, so we're all good there. Okay. So, because there hasn't really been, as far as I know, maybe they've released some audio, but like I said, it was ended early. So they started this morning out, sounds like, with cross-examining, the defense with that detective, Hermosilio, or Ray, I guess you should say. And they finished with him. And then let's see. So he says there's no evidence to suggest JJ was alive after the 22nd or 23rd, which I have a calendar that kind of goes over that. Then we get a new detective or Lieutenant Spencer Wilmore. Worked for 20 years, and he talks about finding a piece of evidence, a USB drive containing the phone call, and that was a very interesting phone call. That was the phone call between Chad and Lori. That's actually the phone call where they're at the Chad's at the property. I think when he's in the car, and they're observing him. He calls Lori, or I can't remember who calls who, but she's in jail, obviously, and that's when he's like, well, they're at the property, and, he's all kind of quiet. You can't really hear a lot of it. He doesn't sound happy, and basically it's a short conversation. And then shortly after that, when they do find start finding the bodies. Chad tries to make a run for it by peeling out of his driveway, and they literally catch him like, just a mile down the road. I don't even know if he got that far. There was one thing I wanted to mention in here, and I think it's with this pal. So then there's Pal, another lieutenant or detective. Oh, lieutenant for 6 years. So they bring him in because he's kind of doing some of the investigation about Tammy. And he's also kind of looking into Chad and Lori. And he's noticing on November 1st, so Tammy died in October, and already they're holding hands. And let's see, where is it? There's one thing. Oh, so he starts looking into her records, and says that Tammy had no signs of high blood pressure or any health issues. And basically, they got a court order to obviously Springfield, Utah, to exhume the body so they could do an autopsy. And then the jurors got to see some autopsy photos of Tammy's Daybell's body. And it looks like he surveyed Lori and Chad one more time in Idaho Falls. And then Powell says he was not involved in the investigation of the paintball shooting incident of Tammy Daybell. And like I said, in my opinion, I think that was some kind of rifle with a silencer, and that's how she got confused with the paintball gun. And so this is pretty much around 10 or 11. So basically 11, almost 11:30 today is when somebody in the prosecution's family had passed away. And so they ended dismissed the jury, and they're gonna, so let's see, abruptly end for unseen circumstances, will continue Thursday. Okay, so they will be back tomorrow. I think what it is they'll be back tomorrow and maybe Friday, and I think Monday is what they're taking off. And so we'll see. So maybe there will be something tomorrow. My apologies. I said they were taking the rest of the week off. I think I did see a report about that. I might have been wrong. So sounds like maybe Thursday, Friday, but I know I seen somewhere that says Monday they're going to take off. So we'll keep an eye on this case. Of course, this is a case I know a lot better than the Letitia Stout case. And I know that they're both going on, and I know that there's just a lot of content creators covering the other case and content creators covering this case, but I definitely know this case a lot more, and I feel better talking about a case that I know. And there's just so many levels to this case. I mean, there is into the Letitia one as well, but I still feel like there's so much more that we're going to learn when it comes to this case, that I just can't wait to see some of these people that are. I wonder about, like Zulema. Somebody mentioned in the chat about Alex and how she woke up with sheets, like she felt like she might have could have been like the next victim. So kind of curious. But yeah, so here's October. So she died on the 19th. Assassination attempt on the 9th. They get married on the 5th of November. Then the welfare check on November 26th. Search warrant takes place on the 27th. That's when they start finding all those crazy items. Then in December, we have just before, this is why some people think it's suspicious that Alex Cox died, but the day before is when they were going to reinvestigate Tammy's death, which I think we did mention, but if I didn't, she was, it's ruled an asphyxiation, so she was strangled. most likely by Chad. And then literally the next day on December 12th, Alex dies by pulmonary embolism, which is a blood clot in the lung. So I need a flow chart to remember who's who. Yeah, that's why I did the calendar. I think the calendar does definitely kind of helps to get at least the dates. Yeah, I'll put something together with everybody in a similar fashion. All the major players. So before we end the show, I just want to say thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch the show. As most of you know, I am going to be moving in 2 days, this Friday. I was going to have an interview tomorrow with a mother who has a missing son, Aiden Clune, but we decided it'd be better to do it next week because I'm moving. So that will be scheduled next week. And then, of course, we've got our cold case trips coming up in just a couple of weeks, the very beginning of May. And we're going to take you guys with us and do some filming and hopefully have some success. So, and I just want to say thank you guys so much for your support. Yes. Well, according to Chad, yeah, he says that she turned into, as a matter of fact, I think he even says that like his wife came to see him in a dream and said, yeah, I'm being possessed by Viola. And, can you please put my spirit right? I think he even told Lori that in a text. But yes. Thanks, Chris. This was fab. I caught up. Still trying to join on my iPhone. If you can put up easier details, the mods have helped, but it's not work so sorry. Yes. So Joanna and Jilly Bean, I am gonna do some kind of video, and maybe I'll play it in the next couple live shows to kind of just. But yeah, I'll figure out something to make that easier. But and thank you so much, Adventurous Spirit. You are so awesome. Thanks, Chris. Thank you. You guys are so awesome. And yes, I'm so excited for my move. For those that may not know, 7 years ago, I got basically really dizzy and got sick and started suffering from vertigo really bad, and basically lost my job. And once I lost my job, and then when I kind of got better, I just kind of fell behind on rent. And I came from a small family. After my mom died, it was kind of like losing my entire family. Long story short, I ended up homeless. And so 7 years ago, 6.5 years ago, about, I was homeless and slowly got back on my feet. And here I am now, going to finally move into my first my own place, because been living with friends and family. So I really appreciate it. And I couldn't do it without the support from you guys. So sorry for rambling on, but I just wanted to say thank you guys so much. You guys are so awesome. So as far as content, there may not be any. I might have a short for tomorrow, but obviously since I'm moving Friday, may not have anything until I might do a special live show Sunday if I get set up by then. So thank you guys so much for everything. Thank you so much. Thanks, 1138. You are so awesome. As I said, I love you guys. Take care of yourselves. Be sure to tell someone you love them. And I'm going to get, pet outro. Let me get a pet outro ready. I do have the new one just about ready. If you're new to the channel, I could probably add a few more pets. If you want to email me a picture of your pet, if you haven't, and I'll get it into this new one that I'm going to make for next week here. So I'm going to go ahead and do this one here. All right. Love you guys. Thank you, Badger.
you.